What's going on, guys? Corey from Yota Expedition here. Behind me, I have our 3rd gen Tacoma, and we have some 285 70-17s mounted on it, which is going to be probably the most popular tire size when it comes to Tacomas and 4Runners. Now in this one, we're going to be going over one of the cheaper ways to get these tires to fit on a 3rd gen Tacoma with minimal modifications and trimming. So for starters, these are, like I said, 285 70. These are Mickey Thompson Baja Boss mud touring tires. And then we have those fitted up with some 1552 Range HD wheels. These are a 17 by 8.5 with a 0 offset. So we find this setup to work pretty well with the 0 offset because we don't have to do a whole lot of trimming here on the fender, and we still have clearance on the back side of the tire with the upper control arm. If you went with a lower offset wheel, it's going to push it out more, which is then in turn going to make you have to probably do some more trimming down here to get it to clear. And if you went with a higher offset, it's going to sit in farther, and then you might run into some clearance issues with your upper control arm or rubbing some other stuff like that. So on our Tacoma, we currently have the budget lift kit from Icon installed, and that's going to be some spacers up front. We still have the stock shocks and springs. We do have a spacer lift on top, and then in the rear we have lift blocks. Those are going to be 1 inch, and it both lifts it, levels it pretty well, and allows us to fit some bigger tires like these 285s. So after we got this budget lift kit installed, we took it out for a quick test drive, tried it full lock, and we found that we were rubbing on the front mud flaps. So those do have to be removed. So we went ahead and removed those. We took it back out for another drive, and we did a little bit of articulation over some spots on our property, and we found that we were rubbing on the plastic on the inner fender flare. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of trimming there. But once you do that, any normal everyday driving on the road, you should be perfectly fine. You might run into some issues when you go into slight off-roading. So on the rear of the Tacoma, we have the 1 inch lift blocks in there. So what you're gonna pretty much do is unbolt your shock, unbolt the U-bolts. You're going to let the axle down just a little bit, slide in that lift block, put in your new U-bolts, and put your shock back on, and you're done. You have about 1 inch of lift in the rear, and other than that, you don't have to touch it. 285s fit perfectly fine back here. Now, like I said earlier, in the front, we did have to remove the front mud flaps. So if you want to remove the rear ones just so it matches, you can. Otherwise, you can leave them on there if you want. So going back to the topic of off-roading, would I suggest this kind of kit for an off-road person? Not really. This is great if you're driving on the road every day, but when it comes to off-roading, this is going to give you a stiffer ride. It's not going to let your truck articulate as much as a real suspension setup. But if you're driving on the road every day, you're just looking to lift it up a little bit so that it looks better and you can get some bigger tires, this is a great option, and it's cheap as well. A lot of people, when they get a Tacoma, one of the first things they want to do is either get new wheels or new tires, and the stock suspension is not going to allow you to run the size that you probably want. So this is a cheap budget way of doing so, even if it means running this for a year until you save up to get the suspension kit that you actually want. So if bigger tires on a budget is what you're looking to do with your Tacoma, then this kit from Icon is a great option. You can head over to yotaexpedition.com and grab some wheels, tires, and suspension. And if you're interested in learning how to install this full kit, we have a full install video. It's right down in the description.